Get on up. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Friday. And I don't feel very serious today. I got a cup of coffee. I got my buddy on. It's Friday. We're going to have a wrap up. We're going to talk about this. Welcome to the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vickie Helm with my co-host for Friday, Scott Stevens. We are here to have some discussion and some fun, and we are going to have a great day. Good morning, Scott. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Vickie. I'm honored to
Hey,
be here.
thank you. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, if you're new here, do me a favor, put your name down below.
Okay,
We
I've got
want to
it
get
on.
to meet you and know you. The Coffee Break Show goes live Monday through Friday. We share tips, tools, techniques. We have conversations that matter. We share inspiration, motivation, and we are so glad you've joined us. I see you popping on this morning. Thank you for being here. It's Friday. It's Friday, everyone. So glad to see you. Listen, come join the conversation. Today, I got to tell you, I don't feel very serious, Scott. I feel very. I saw a headline this
You?
morning,
You?
and I want to pull it up because
She's
it just
almost
made me
always
laugh.
serious. Almost always serious.
Yeah, I know. It just made me
Almost.
laugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, America's labor market unexpectedly rebounded in May. This is from Bloomberg. Bloomberg headline signaling the economy is picking up faster than expected. And I'm thinking, okay, if an economy picks up faster than expected and their supply chains from overseas are still broken,
Yeah.
I'm like, is the media spinning this again? Where did the COVID conversation go?
Well, the other thing is, remember that we had China, which was down massively in February, and
Good
then
morning.
in March, miraculously, they had this incredible, not to be believed recovery. And we mocked their numbers. And because, like, okay, the China Ministry of Truth is the one responsible for these numbers. And here we are, the States doing nearly the same thing. But it is kind of curious that there was another headline that came out shortly, not too long after, that the BLS admits survey error may have reduced the unemployment rate by up to 3%. A survey error, but at least they walked that number back within minutes, truly
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
So, but they also closed that statement by saying that we will not make ad hoc adjustments. We'll admit the error and we'll do that adjustment of the number when we do revisions, and that's usually at the end of the week, but usually at the end of the month. So there
And
we are.
to me, it's getting to the point where things are comical. It's getting to the point where they're comical. Now, I want to make sure that I'm really clear here that there's nothing funny about George Floyd. Nothing about it at all. And I know that they finally got all the officers charged in these new allegations, and the globe is still protesting, and it was an incident here. But we have friends in Australia, and we have friends in the UK. We have friends all around the world, and they're talking to us about how people are protesting in their country for the same treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The same things are happening everywhere. And I think it's such an interesting conversation to have about it's like everywhere around the world, we think people have to look like us or act like us to be one of us. What is that?
Well, all around the world, there is still that same issue. Whether it's hashtag Black Lives Matter, police heavy-handed in their dealing with people of color, with protesters in general. I mean, France has been through 18 months of
Beating
protesting
up their
straight
own
up there.
firemen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is a systemic issue. And when you militarize the police, as has been done in the States and in other Five Eyes nations, what do you expect? I mean,
You
literally,
know,
what do you expect? There's going to be some kind of revolt, some kind of pushback. And I saw a meme the other day. If it probably would be further out of hand and in a greater militarized states here in the States, had we been disarmed, had provisions of the Second Amendment been walked back, legally or illegally, when you play with that constitutional amendment. But they're only going to want to take that right to bear arms from you if there's a reason you would need those arms. And we
yeah.
have to be thinking a couple of steps ahead as to why they are doing this. Why right now? because I don't want to say the last time Black Lives Mattered or it became a trend on Google was during the last election. So that there's been absolutely some
Interesting.
politicalization of this movement. And that is unfortunate because it has been an issue month after month, day after day, without end. We've been dealing with this militarized police. But yeah, look
You,
at Google Trends and see where the spikes occur in this issue.
it's so interesting. I want to share two stories with you. One was when I was a police officer. You know how they talk to you in the morning and then you go out. When I was a police officer one morning, a guy came in with kind of this remote control thing that was a bomb detector. And it was, I don't want to say how far back it was, but I was in my 20s when I saw this. And so
not that long ago.
that's right, not that long ago. So he came into the room with this robot looking thing, and we were all like, "What is that? What is that?" And he said, "It's a bomb camera, and you can, instead of putting on that big heavy suit to come out there, and it would blow up in your face if it was there. And the suit's really heavy. I've worn it. I never was on bomb detection, but I wore that. And I was back when there was community policing. Community policing means you hired people from your area, you trained them at the academy. They got really, really vast psychological training, etc. And you got trained on everything else. Is vastly different now. Now you go to college to get a degree to even apply to a police academy, which you had to have
Then
a
you
degree
go through training.
there. Yes. And so what ended up happening was we were like, how did we get this at our police department? How did we fund this? How did this get here? And he goes, it's surplus. They're giving police departments, and I think it was Desert Storm. Now you guys know how far back it was.
Yeah.
It was like, these are left over from Desert Storm, and all this tactical equipment that was used in the military got dispersed to police departments all over the place. We never, in my day, did not have those militarized pants that you wear. We had the old-fashioned put your hands in your pockets pants. Everything was there. And I remember that the first day that happened, the first day. The second thing is, I remember when 9/11 happened, I was living in London. And I remember I was flying to another place, and I went to the airport. And for the first time, I saw their police department walking around with machine guns inside the airport. And I remember the first feeling I had about that, like that was the tipping point for me, where I thought, there goes our freedoms.
Something has changed.
Yes, that initial point has changed.
Something's changed. And how do you walk that back? How do you undo the
Yeah.
fright that was put into everybody about flying?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there have been some instances where episodes or potential events have been caught and then not happened, and we don't hear about those unless you need a political agenda to further more clawbacks of freedom. But I don't know. I don't know. From my point of view, I don't think we ever needed the TSA. I just,
Yeah.
there's some things about 9/11 that just stink to high heaven. So I see it as more of a power grab from the Constitution, from our Bill of Rights, and our ability for freedom of travel. And that's just how I look at it.
And the thing that is so alarming for me is, even when we have these new laws, first off, the thing that gets me is, I loved being able to wait for somebody that I love to get off the plane. I love watching the plane come in. I loved it there. I loved the hugs, and I loved the energy of watching people walk with their loved ones, hugging each other as they're going down I love that. Now, here's the thing. Now you can't go, and we haven't for over a decade now, meet your loved one at the gate. And I think, why? I'm not getting on the plane. I'm meeting someone at the gate.
Yep.
And we're going this way. Why can't we? Why is that right? And there's such a quality of, you don't understand what a great quality of life it is, if you've never done it, to meet your loved one at the gate.
And we have people that can vote now who weren't alive the day that happened.
That's right.
It's been that long that we truly have had a generation that have grown up with the Patriot Act, with the TSA. That's all they've known. And so there isn't a reason or an experience like that to reflect back upon when you're like, do you remember when? And I believe that there'll be a future where it's going to be a little bit ugly for a bit, but we'll get back to that. We'll get
Yes,
back to
it's
that.
like when you see your freedoms going away. And the other thing for me is I understand that it happened in the United States. I get it. But it didn't happen in London, and it didn't happen in Australia, and it
Mhm.
didn't happen around the world. And their rights were kind of seemingly chipped away. They still have the same thing. They can't meet their loved ones at the gate, and nothing has ever
No,
happened.
no,
Nothing. So it's just like because the countries are like compact, like they have compact agreements,
you do.
that suddenly these rights are disintegrated
And
or
identification
freedoms.
IDs have changed in that time as well. You have to have your real ID. And there were states that said, no, we don't. We still have that right. But then the feds that still control access to travel, access to customs and so forth said, okay, states, you don't have to do that. However, your citizens will then have to produce a passport
Yeah.
because your ID then isn't enough, and then we'll just bring back some funds, and you won't have them for your road department, for your whatever. So they have ways of forcing these states who want to maintain their freedom of being a state uh, through the pocketbook, through the money, through those strings that they could pull
Through
those
those
states into
fees, through
compliance.
those everything else. I want to jump back up here because everybody's talking. Everybody's talking something. I forget it. Yes, police have been made more militaristic.
Spit it out, Vic.
Wow, that's a tongue twister. And they have been. And I got to tell you, I left that position when this started happening
Mhm.
because it's like there's something about that. I want to go here. Interesting. I didn't know elections bring BLM to the forefront. Paid protesters. That's right.
Yeah, take a look at it. Take a
It's
look at it. And
interesting.
they're anticipating 1 million people. In fact, they're promoting and planning and organizing a 1 million-man march
And that's
in DC this weekend. And then the DC mayor has kicked out the National Guard that was there to kind of help deal with these people. So it's almost like the event that is planned for tomorrow has another agenda with it, that they need some
and then
massive
and
photo
then
op to go
the
with it.
thing, yeah, the thing is that they can always blame it on it's like they're trying to take a peaceful march, a peaceful group of people, and make them look like out of control, horrible, rotten people that have done, look what they did. That's not true. That's
No.
really not true. It's so there. I want to pop right here. One can see the media trends associated with racism push around elections. Agreed with that.
Yep. Yep.
So what were you going to say?
No, I'm just whenever, how do we say this kindly? How do we say this politically correctly? Whatever the agenda is at the time, fear is the way to get people to agree to do something,
Cooperate.
to fear.
Yes, and the initial point of that, this is the thing. Once you agree to lose a freedom, once you agree to surrender to a freedom, it has not made you safer. It is
No.
not, that's the thing that's there. You are no safer than before the incident or after the incident.
Well,
You're not safer from terrorism.
and you believe that if there is a sunset clause written into the legislation, that it will at some point time out. And that has been into the FISA application, that has been into the Patriot Act, it is
Mhm.
there. However, when it comes up for the vote, and if they can get away with it with a voice vote, then that'll happen. So you don't have to be on the record as impinging on the freedoms of your constituents. And
Yeah.
even if there is a voice vote, then there is some false flag event, some incident which garners all kinds of global attention to then justify the renewal of that legislation so the police state can just continue to march forward unimpeded. But I, I don't know, how do you get out of that kind of tyranny? Are you
That's the
leaving it to your
question.
kids? Are you
That's the
leaving it to your
yeah.
children? Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even see the tyranny most of the time. Unfortunately, it is and has become very difficult to discover the pulse of truth. Donnie, this is absolutely the
Yep.
core issue right
We
now.
are.
Unfortunately, it is. I haven't even read the rest of it. Unfortunately, it is and has become very difficult to discover the pulse of truth. We're being we're being it's just there's barrage, but we're being bombarded by so much differing news. So much so, it's like chasing a spider monkey. It's all over the place. This is chaos, and it is deliberate chaos. Deliberate chaos. So the greater question is, what is really going on? And that is, it's like the narrative and agenda, it has been spliced and divided. And there's so many factions of that truth, and a piece of this is truth, and a piece of this is truth, and a piece of this is truth. I'm more interested in how we make our way. You know, the last Friday, you talked about something, Scott, that I thought was really profound. You said it's like being in a thick fog. You can hear it, but you can't see really but a few feet in front of you.
Yep.
And this is the deliberate chaos created right now.
And we've got the country literally divided into two camps. Those that are protesting against the injustices, against the police force, which all have their merits. There's reason to do that.
Yep.
But there is a boundary between protesting, between rioting, and then
And looting
and murder.
Yeah.
So there is this gradation of what is acceptable, at least in my eyes, as still remaining and maintaining some kind of civility. But you know, what revolution? And they're after a revolution, and I get that. I mean, there's part of that I completely and wholly support, that we need reforms. That is a given. There's no, I mean, both sides of the aisle will agree with that. We've got to have some kind of reforms, but how do you go there? How do you get it? And then at what point are the agitators not really wanting to reform, but just create discord, uncertainty, and fear? So where are the agendas overlapping? And that's the challenge with discernment, with stepping back and not getting all afraid and going, that man's bad or this person's bad. Yes, there is evil out there and there are bad people, but they're also doing their job, and they're waking people up that would be just content to sit back and watch Wheel of Fortune and eat a TV dinner. And they're becoming participants in this discourse. And to me, that has great value. It has great.
I'm going to throw this out too, because people say, if you want change, vote. Now, I'm not sure that you can affect change anymore with voting. I don't think hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked.
I don't think the last, real presidential election has been, I think our voting has been tainted.
And even when you do vote, if we could have an assassin come in and undo that.
That's right.
So that then the power structure has their person back in power, or their mechanisms free from being exposed, you know, then voting doesn't work. And you then have to resort to protesting and doing what's being done. It's just on the other side of this protesting and of this uprising, who's to take power? And you don't want to give it back to those that are the instigators. There's got to be another power that is worthy of it, and that isn't those that have been in power.
Or leadership. So, Vickie, everything comes back to your discussion of community. The need to be involved in different communities in your life to be able to overcome and talk about ideas to keep you, your family, and friends safe and in the know. And I want to talk about this because this is the thing. And we look at community like, let's get my neighbors together. No, that is not what I do for community. Although I have some really great neighbors that I love very much. But what I'm looking at here is there are several types of communities, several. A lot of them are online, and there's a lot offline. And I think that when I invite the conversation, I have friends that I love that have very opposite opinions of me, because to explore that area with them means that we can create meeting in the middle. I want to understand how they feel or what they think or what they want to know. And to me, it's like having community is online community, it's offline community, it's working community. So I want to tell you, I have people that are my partners, that this isn't our first business we've done together. It's to the point where if you get a good team together and you know who you are inside that team and everybody participates in that team, it doesn't matter what project comes to the team. Their job is to go, yes, no, yes, no. You get to the point where you're building whatever you want to build as a power team, and finding that is a piece of community security that will give you prosperity for the rest of your life. And so community is the future.
And then even then, communities are now having to dodge bullets, dodge uncertainties, dodging breaks in supply chains, dodging illnesses, dodging danger. I mean, straight up, there's danger now roaming through neighborhoods, and these people who want these change, these instigators, are now telling rural America, we're coming.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a whole different battle if that shows up in rural America,
because
there's a
rural
different
America
consciousness.
is militia and armed. But here's the thing that is really clear for me right now. I'm when I look at community and I look at what's going through, I'm one of those people that is very peaceful. Unless provoked, I'm not a wuss. You're not going to, walk over me. But I have this thing where I believe some of these propagandized people make the threat to just create erroneous fear. And that fear then is, people getting up in arms. That people getting up in arms. Now, yesterday, a peaceful protest. Now, I live rurally, way up in the mountains. We live at 8,100 feet up in the hills. We are so rural, it's amazing. So yesterday in town, there's a peaceful protest, and a guy in a black pickup truck decides that he's going to run down the peaceful protesters. One of our peaceful protesters whipped out a gun, and I could imagine if there's a truck coming for me and I'm armed, he took out that gun and he shot the driver. And the driver was down a couple of blocks after that. And I'm like, this is rural America. This is rural America. And no wonder it's like, that's the thing. The guy is in the hospital. He was flight for life down to the Front Range and to a hospital down there. And I don't think they have found the shooter. I don't think they found yet the guy who pulled the trigger.
They may never.
Yeah, but if he didn't pull the trigger, would more people have died in that crowd?
It's possible,
and
isn't it?
A crowd in that town is not like a crowd in a big city. A crowd in that town is like, hi, 50 people are standing together. That may be a huge crowd down there.
Yeah. So that open carry dude was just calling out the guy that was open carrying with his big pickup or with his big vehicle, which was then also where was it? Nice, France, where we had these terrorists, rolling through crowds, rolling through protesters, and they were hitting, injuring, killing people with their vehicle. That was the new weapon of choice. And they're not armed in Europe like we're armed here. And for better or for worse, whatever the outcome, know that when you're running through a crowd where there is potentially armed citizens, they will react. And that's a risk that should give those protesters pause as they move out of the cities, out of those particular cities.
I want to completely do a bunny trail right now because I think it's so cute. Brandon Rennell, thanks for being here. I haven't seen you in a long time. Your name popped up and it was so cute. And you're like, success story. I usually procrastinate doing laundry, yet all the laundry is finished and I'm completely packed for my trip home to PA next Friday. Congratulations, dude. That's a good thing. Laundry is laundry. And I was like, this is so cute in the middle of the discussion we're having. It just tickled my funny bone so much. I want to go here. They're just talking a mile a minute. Hey, Lori, nice to see you on. Yeah, our voting system in this country is just a joke anymore. The choices they give us are their choices, not ours. And both candidates are almost always puppets for the power that be. And so many elections are dishonest and rigged. Thank you for that. I have a tendency to concur. I don't know if it's possible to hold media accountable, but yes, I agree with you. Metadime Digital will fill that hole. That's right. That's what we do, and that's what's really great. Congratulations, Brandon. It's first. It's great to. It's a great feeling to eat that frog and get that important stuff done. Then you get such a great feeling of accomplishment, and it moves everywhere else. I'm going to scroll down. I cannot believe how many of you talking. Hey. So I just want to say good morning to Risa. Nice to see you on. It's a great feeling, Robin. Robin, that seems like a very challenging thing. Just read a retraction by reputable medical establishments that report on research that was completely fabricated. Yes, and that research has been quoted across the world as truth. Hard to follow and clean that up. Yes, that is the point. I want to go back to Donnie's comment. I think this is deliberate. I think this is a deliberate chaos that's been created. I said if I had the funding, I would create community and education centers all over the world. You know, I would too. And I don't know if that's Ryan or who that is, but I would, I would, like, if I won a really big lotto or something, I would be hitting up I like the idea of a Department of Peace. When Marianne Williamson said that, I thought that's a good idea. And here's the thing. When we get to the point where we choose sides, we lose discernment, because instead of listening to ideas, we start giving opinions. Mm-hmm. And opinions don't help things. Opinions are just speculations or things like that. When you are like, hi, I'm a Democrat and I'm a Republican, and you're sticking to that, you're missing ideas. Now, it doesn't matter how much you hate the other side. They have good ideas.
Because you choose one of those sides believing that there is an ideology there that you identify with. Now, as that ideology changes and you've wedded yourself to registering as one side or the other, then you also have to compromise those ideologies that you once held truthful.
Yeah.
And if you don't and cannot adjust those ideologies or even recognize that what you believe in or believed in 10, 20 years ago does not concur with the new ideology spouted by the party or the side you've chosen to believe in, then there's some cognitive dissonance. And if you can't resolve that, then it's time to step back from the situation and figure it out. Just take a pause and figure it out.
Yes.
And Robin mentioned something about that was the Lancet medical journal study that was retracted because the databases, they would not open up the database to examination, and they had to pull that back. And for me, this solution to COVID is in that study.
That's right.
If we all had just mailed to us like this census form, if we had that mailed to us, if we had the hydrochloric, the HCQ, if we had the Z-Pak from azithromycin, and we had zinc sent to us, we could open the economy. We could put this issue behind us.
Oh, just like that.
And it's done. It's done. The solution's sitting there in front of us. And I promise you, because this solution has been hidden from us, deceptively so, with these protests, do not think that second wave isn't already developing and developing very, very quickly as we speak. And that's likely what we're going to begin to talk about next Friday, because all of a sudden the stay-at-home banner we all put on our Facebook profiles has been thrown away. And this virus hasn't gone anywhere. And the solution to it also has not been made known and widely available. And in fact, it's even been detracted just so that we would stay at home. So I'm very curious where June takes us. Very curious.
Me too. And July. And we just only have a few weeks of that. That I think is going to be something very newsworthy. Donnie, how do we step back to discern and see the bigger picture? Is the question still following the money? That's a great question, Donnie.
Gilead had the other antiviral, and that was the golden boy of this virus, except it didn't do enough, didn't do anything. And it was terribly expensive versus a medicine that is like 50 cents or less per dose. In fact, I was looking at it last night, and the cost of this medicine is pittance. It's a pittance, and it could easily be
Yeah.
afforded and far
Yep.
less expensive than another stimulus.
So it's interesting here. I can feel it in my gut. Something else, something far larger is going on. I agree with that. Is this a battle over our sovereignty as individuals, as
Yep.
communities, as a country, as a world? Does this word still apply? Yes, that's a big one right there. And I want to say more about that because um, I think this was a global terrorist attack. I think COVID was a global terrorist attack. And I think that we've seen the first wave of this, whatever this terrorist attack was. And so what's happening is the first thing is there's a battle for our attention. And then the next thing is the battle for your belief. You're being down this pigeonhole or down this rabbit hole or down this rabbit hole or down this rabbit hole, whatever belief you are, they are trying to make you patriots of that belief. That's the only thing happening, or you're uncovering the truth. That if you move to neutral, you may see that there are more players in this thing because now it's who controls the narrative. And because we have social media, anybody can control the narrative. That's the whole point of how Russia influenced the voting in this. At that last minute, that whole thing, what was that company? That company that is
Cambridge
now
Analytica.
Yes, Analytica scandal.
Yeah.
That whole thing happened. So anywhere in the world could be producing any agenda, any narrative, any power play they want. If you go to neutral and take your attention back, the only way you can take your attention back and then be very specific, you have to ask questions. First, even at the data you look at, is this data real? We never used to have to ask that. It's like, is this
And we should
data
have.
real?
And we should have. Because
Yes.
there is that Project Mockingbird where
Yes.
our
Hey,
intelligence
Jim.
agencies had corrupted the press, and in the church inquisition, back at that Idaho center back in the mid-70s, when he was grilling the CIA on whether they had agents within the press, and they had to say yes. And when you begin to look at the list of those who are part of the corporation, it's daunting. It's a daunting list to where they own the narrative. And if you're agreeing with something that is coming from the mainstream press, you're not seeing the whole picture.
Here's the thing right here. And I'm assuming this is
Yep.
Ryan.
Yep. That's it.
Psychological warfare is what we are witnessing. Psychological warfare is what you are in. It's not what we're witnessing. It is what's here now. And if they have your mind, they can control your life. And the question is, I know a lot of you think you're free thinkers, that you're not susceptible to any kind like this, that you're not actually easily I'm not easily controlled by media. I'm me, I'm smart, I'm this, I'm that. As long as we have egos that are strong, that are not breakable, that are not bendable, if you're not willing to call yourself out, if you're not willing to be wrong, you are completely and utterly controllable. This propaganda wars have been around. They have been things that armies used in the Korean War, in the Vietnam War, and in World War II. Propaganda has been a war tool to control the minds, because if they control your minds, they control your actions.
If they control how you think, how you assess a situation, I mean, that's the key. If you contain the information, and we are absolutely under an information war right now, and it's already bloody. It's bloody, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. We've got to watch Washington tomorrow. That's a big day.
Yes, it is.
Tomorrow.
It's huge. And we look at this. This is, to me, true. Media is actually permitted to lie without impunity.
Yes.
And let me just tell you something. We give a lot of crap to the mainstream media, but I want to tell you, there's a lot of you out there that are no better than the mainstream media. You're making blog posts that are lie, that have your agenda, that have your narrative out there. It is misleading in general. It is citizen journalism as well as this journalism out there that is mainstream. Some of the citizen journalists lie way more than mainstream media does, and you don't want to accept that out there. So when you're creating the agenda that is misleading the world right now, it's not that citizen journalism, when it gets to the point where there's a video of something live happening, like what happened to George Floyd, that is the most empowering media we can see. For those of you behind the scenes making those videos that are lies and misleading or upping an agenda that isn't really true, you are part of the issue as well as the mainstream media.
And
There's
even
both of
then,
that.
they only believe they're defending their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing it in their eyes with integrity. And that's,
Maybe the same for that's the hard part of it right
it is.
there.
It is because it's their belief and they're wedded to that belief.
So I want to go back to Donnie's questions because this is the place where we need to get really discerning. What are 3 things that you can do to help yourself become grounded? The first one we already named. We named that you need to take your attention back. And to take your attention back, you need to move into neutral. Stop choosing sides. The number one way they get you hooked is to get you to choose a side. We want to have independence. You want to be an independent voter.
Yep. And we need to aggressively seek out opposition media. If you're only watching one side of the story, you're not doing yourself or your
That's right.
consciousness and your awareness any favors. If you're comfortable watching the news, turn the channel. Turn the channel and watch something else. You've got to see other points of view. Otherwise, you're just a pawn, and you
Yeah.
can use and then the chess master, the grandmaster will play you like a fiddle and win the county fair on that fiddle contest because you are so compliant with that point of view. And it's scary because you've given your liberty, your sovereignty over to some dude thousands of miles away sitting in front of a camera, and it's
Yeah.
gone.
That's it. That's the point. Most people don't think it's the fight of their mind or their life. They just think, how can I get my work done? Look at this. I just want to, hey, Jim, I just want to say welcome. Oh, Jim, hang on. Robin popped there. Jim, nice to see you on, buddy. I haven't seen you for a while.
Exactly.
Hope you're doing well. Even live video can be misleading depending on perspective angle. Yes, even live video. That's true. Anything that is
Or video
the
they put
least.
the live banner on because MSNBC was called out for literally using World War Z video and then superimposing it and calling it live video of Los Angeles.
That's right. I saw that.
So
One.
this is the depths to which they will go to control the narrative. And if half the people believe it, then fine. Half the people believe it. If 1/10 of the people believe it, fine. It's an acceptable value. And because, as we said earlier, there's no consequence. There are no consequences for being misleading, for lying in the media. And that's part of what the president tried to do is bring accountability back to the social media giants. We'll see how that plays out. We'll see how, but because that's just another one move on the chessboard.
Yeah, beware sweet lies are more palatable than bitter truths. That's true. And here's the thing. One of the things that was hard for me is that in order to have truthful, authentic success, we have to get to the point where truths are not bitter, where truths are salve on your soul, because at least you can make a correct move or you can make something that is a little more attainable. Listen to this. Hey, good morning, Sad. I've been missing your broadcast. Well, I'm glad you're here. I don't think I've seen you live for maybe over a couple of years now, but glad you're with us today, Jim. So
Vickie is always saying hashtag replay.
that's right. Hashtag replay. And there's plenty to replay. I want to let you know that we have happy Fun Day Fridays, and let's celebrate success stories and discussions. That's what we do. The discussions we have right now, and I'm really grounded in having these discussions with Scott. And the reason I am is because this, for me, is the most important, most patriotic thing I can do, is to get up and say, take your power back. Take your eyes and your attention and your focus away from those things. Challenge what you believe, challenge what you're perceiving right now. The reason I have Scott and I on every single Friday, and it's going to continue with these discussions, is because the more people that can take their power back and become discerning or have discernment, the more empowered you are going to be to succeed. It's either that you're going to sink or swim. And in order for you to swim, you have to have your mind with you. It's got to be in your here and your soul here. And right now, everybody is just plunging, taking away from that. Put your energies only into those things that pull your attention to you and what it is in your life.
Yeah, even if we protest, Minneapolis, there's some discussion on that city council about completely dismantling the police force. Really? I mean, reform is one thing, but dismantling and doing away with it, I think, is kind of another. But it is a national discussion that needs to happen. It
I
needs
think
to happen.
it's good.
I kind of long for the days of Andy Griffith.
I remember the way policing used to be done, but I think it's a good thing to dismantle them. They're like almost the Department of Education. I love our EMS, but when it gets to the point where we're at a place where we can restructure anything, I think our jail system needs to be restructured.
Oh God,
I think our politics needs to be restructured. Yes, that's right. They have to end.
There can't be profit in the justice system. There can't be profit in policing. There can't be profit in civil asset forfeiture. These things have got to be completely done away with.
That's right.
And we talked about the tax base. And as the tax base of cities, of counties, and of states collapse because of this, there has to be a realigning of priorities. And this is a discussion that we will continue to have, because even though the private sector unemployment has crashed, the government still is maintaining the same level of spending. And that can only happen when you have a reserve currency or a printing press, when you're able to counterfeit the money to sustain the illusion of empire.
Yeah, to me, that's the big point. And I want to say this, there is no justice as long as justice is based off profitability. Yep. There is no justice if justice is just profitability. No, and we've gotten our whole justice system to be very profitable. It's a business now. It's a business.
Profitable. How can a lawyer charge in those high-end cases hundreds, if not thousands of dollars an hour? That is immoral. Whatever moralism is, that does not jive with equal access or equal justice. That does not work.
This is interesting, Martin, because I actually agree with this. Who's going to keep the peace and have authority if police are dismantled? Yep. Yes, I agree with that. Not dismantled, restructured. And I like I said earlier in the show, this is such an important topic. Restructured can mean a different type of training. We have military training without diversity training. Or if the diversity training is there, it's not working. It's not getting through. It's not actually being there. And I think the police, more independent oversight of police would be a good option. I agree with it. And somehow I think the training inside that is going to be important. I think the mindset training is absolutely important. There's no justice if there is profitability and justice.
The Israelis have been big in training police forces. The Israelis. Yes. And they're teaching them these moves. This neon neck move was an Israeli action.
Well, I remember learning it when I was a cop, when
Mhm.
I was a police officer, and you bent down, but you didn't stay there for 9 minutes.
No,
You
no.
hobbled them. It was like a minute. It was like lassoing an animal. You know, you tied their feet, tied their hands, and boom, you were off them, letting them breathe. You turned them on their side. You
Yeah.
didn't lay there and put your hand in your pocket. And the thing that I see when I look at that
It
picture,
wasn't a kill shot.
that's right. What it was not meant to do that. What I see in that picture when I look at it is ego and arrogance. That's what I see, him on the knee. I'm so powerful. I have dominion over you. I'm not going to let you breathe. And what we're told is if they can speak, they can breathe. So when he was saying, I can't breathe, they didn't believe him. And unfortunately, that was like, it was so, the arrogance on their face. That's the thing that's missing in the police department. There's no humbleness. There's no respect for humanity. It's gotten out of hand, their power.
There's no consequences for their actions.
Yes.
That's the big one.
That's a biggie. Not just for police, but all who should assume leadership roles. Ooh, Ryan, I really like this. I really like this. So here's the possibility. Here's the thing that I want to share with you that I think is happening in the world. We have right now the ability to restructure most anything, restructure our monetary system, our political system, our medical system. It does not, our educational system. We are in the middle of restructuring, not rebuilding. We're not rebuilding.
Restructuring.
We're restructuring what's here, what's possible. Now,
It
when you
could be
take
rebuilding. It could be. Depends
yeah,
on how far it's broken down. It could be
it's true.
rebuilding.
Yeah,
And there'll be
we can
some
take it down
structures.
to the ground.
Yeah, could be some structures that aren't rebuilt because they haven't served us. We'll look at them in hindsight and go, nope, we don't need that. Nope, that one didn't work. Education department, no, we're dumber than ever. Nope, 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 not
Yep.
that one. I mean,
Yep.
there are some of these that don't need to be rebuilt.
Yes, some that need to go away. Yes, training for leadership. We have a country of managers, not leaders. I will agree with that. You know, what's your opinion about Mattis coming out and speaking? The police had a pattern of behavior. He shot two others and innocent citizens died in a car crash during his high-speed chase. That's correct. That is correct. I saw that. I like this. HR misses that volatility. Yes, they do. And then we have somebody saying exactly. Now we kind of have three conversations going at once.
At least.
But look at this. Restructuring, great distinction, may need rebuilding for some because they're obsolete.
Yeah.
So Mattis came on and made a statement yesterday about the leadership of the president of the United States calling out military to be in the area, and he said he was very against that, putting that. That's a big distinction there.
Yeah, he's definitely chosen sides with that one, and I'm not sure it's going to be on the right side. And
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow will tell. Tomorrow will tell, because if you're leaving, say, just for example, the White House exposed because you don't have proper forces, and if there's this insurrection, because that's really what it feels like, is an insurrection, and if in Hollywood terms, if Castle has fallen, then that was an epic failure of the military to back up the commander in chief.
Welcome, Amber. We are at the end of the show. That's true. We're holding up there. Hashtag live. Thank you.
You go, girl.
What I want to say is right now there is uncertainty, unpredictability, the unknown. And the most important thing you can do is listen. Not choose side, not opinionate, but listen, really listen to all sides. Be into the point where you put your opinions, speculations, and sometimes even ego-driven comments into neutral. Just put them into neutral. Sometimes when we listen, we have the ability to extrapolate evidence on all fronts that agree. They agree that this and this and this. And to me, that's the strongest of the truths, where all three meet in the middle and say, yes, this is true, and this is true, and this is true.
Yep. Yep. I mean, that's because if you're wedded to one side, then you're not even going to consider other options. And that's no, turn the channel. Look
Love
around.
this.
Look
We have a
around.
question. Isn't there something in the Constitution about using military with your own people?
Mhm.
Yes, that's true.
Mhm.
That was there. That's the whole point of that. Will they allow it to prove a point? Will they
Will they
allow it
allow
to
it to prove a
prove a
point?
point?
That's the
That's
question.
the question. Yes. Yes, Commander in Chief, rank and order. The SOD cannot disobey policy or order. Generals either. That's correct.
Secretary of Defense,
Mm-hmm.
the SecDef.
Yep, using military against your own people, question mark. So tomorrow's a big day,
It is a big
and
day.
we're going to probably be discussing it on Monday. I might even pull Mr. Scott back on with us Monday just to do this because of the conversation. We'll see. We'll see what
Mhm.
happens. Um, and I like this. Believe the Constitution says you cannot spy on citizens, and they're still doing that, aren't they?
And that's why we have Five Eyes, so that we don't do it, but we can have our allies do it for us and then share the intelligence.
That's right.
So
That's
there
how
are
they back
ways
that.
around every law. Yeah, there's a back door. There's a back door. There's just that kind of dishonesty and corruption and an absence of integrity through it all. Some systems
So
we don't rebuild.
yes, this to me is a big deal right here. I remember taking this oath and I still feel it. Army swears to protect America against threats, foreign and domestic. That's correct. In the United States, wait a minute, I'm just going to go boom. Army swears to protect America against threats, foreign and domestic. The
That's an oath.
Army swears.
That's an oath.
Yeah,
And if you it's military, it's Congress, and they've taken this oath. And there will
it's
be a point of time when they are called. Their actions will be compared to the oath that they have taken to uphold. And there will be an accounting. And I don't think it's going to be, well, it'll be an exciting day depending on if you've stayed neutral and you can see that this infection is allowed to fester for far, far too long in this country.
mhm. So we're going to be continuing this conversation. We're at the top of the hour, and you guys are just talking a mile a minute. I love the amount of insights that were shared today. I love that. I love that there is the protecting the Constitution. I believe that there are ways around everything. There, no matter what it is, there are ways around everything, including upholding the law.
Mhm.
And today, it's like you're going to have the law within you really hold you to your destiny, to your success, to your everything. It's like right now, the most important thing you can do is find your community, put yourself in neutral, take your attention back and bring it inside you and say, okay, what do we need to do? What will benefit us? You want to be able to gather data. And the third thing I think you need to do is explore all of it. You want to be an observer of what's happening, not a participant, like an observer. If you see something happening, well, the beauty of George Floyd, when he died, everyone in the world observed what's really happening, and then we can take an action, then we can restructure, then we can bring it in. I just want to go pop over here and
Yeah,
close
this
the
is a good
show
one.
with
Well done.
this. Bringing in the military is a very volatile, dangerous decision. I agree with that. Not only for the citizens, but for the Constitution. I agree with that. The military is under the UCMJ, sworn to protect the Constitution, which also is written to protect the people. And we are in this time of a weird revolution. It's not guns and bullets, it's definitely mind and media. So I want to thank everybody for being on this conversation on Friday. This has been a really hot topic, and there has been a lot of intelligent conversation. And you guys, I want you to have a really good, safe weekend. Be safe this weekend. Sometimes staying at home might be fun. Just think of it as a staycation. Scott, thanks as always for being my friend and being willing to come on and these shows and share your
Yeah,
opinions
I
and
enjoy it
just
every
being
time,
with
Vickie.
us. I love it, love it, love
I
it.
love it.
All right, you guys, we'll see you Monday, maybe both of us. Mwah! Talk to you later. Bye.